Hello friends, it's your boy Chris here. Welcome to my kitchen. I had a request for making pholourie. Now I had shared a recipe with you guys years and years ago, well a couple years ago, on the website at caribbeanpot.com, but today I'm doing a nice video tutorial for you guys making pholourie, as well as a spicy dipping sauce with green mangoes called mango chutney. If it's your first time here watching me on YouTube, above click subscribe, below leave me your questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to chat about, and do remember to give the video the thumbs up. I was recently branded as the Wicked Chef, so here's another wicked recipe from the Wicked Chef. Pholourie, look what I got here. I've got the batter all set up and waiting to go, paper towels there, and the oil heating up ready for frying the pholourie. The mango chutney is in the fridge. It was already done, but I'm going to go through step by step and show you guys how to put together this wicked pholourie with mango chutney. Let's see if we can quickly run through the ingredients we'll be using for the pholourie. And up back here, I guess, this is 1 cup of ground split peas. It may also be known as, or called in the stores or package as split peas flour. I've got 1 cup of that. I've got here a teaspoon of baking powder, 2 cloves of garlic, 1 Scotch bonnet pepper for some heat. We won't be using any seeds, just the flesh of this, because we want to just add a little kick to it, nothing too spectacular. In the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago, I know we call this saffron, not saffron, but saffron. It is the, I think it's also called turmeric. I've got 1 teaspoon of turmeric here, or if you're in the Caribbean, we may call it saffron. 1 cup of all-purpose flour. And here I have about half a teaspoon of salt. You'll also need about 1.3 cups of water for creating a batter, because we've got to put all of this together to create a batter. And you'll also need vegetable oil or any sort of oil you like frying things in. What we'll do now is create that batter, but before we do, we need to work with the garlic as well as the hot pepper to crush it into a paste to add it to everything. I've got my mortar and pestle here, and all I'm going to do is give the garlic a rough chop, because we're going to pound this into a smooth paste. I'm also going to cut up that Scotch bonnet pepper. Now I'm going to avoid using the seeds. Let me just cut it open and show you guys. If you want that raw heat and you really want this to be spicy, you can certainly use the seeds here. This is where most of that heat is with any sort of hot pepper, including Scotch bonnet, as well as habanero peppers. Any hot peppers, that's where most of that heat is. So what I'm going to do is pretty much cut that part out and discard it. So all I have is the flesh. I'm just going to give that another little rough chop, because we want to pound that into a paste. Again, same thing here. I'm just going to cut this out. Give that a rough chop, and now all I'm going to do is work with my mortar and pestle. However, what I'm going to do is to add the salt in there so it works as an abrasive force to help crush everything. And pretty much all I'm doing is to crush this into a smooth paste for creating the batter. So it took about a minute, and I've got a nice smooth paste in there now. A couple things I got to mention here, guys. I use a whole Scotch bonnet pepper. It was a very small pepper. You can use half, you can use quarter, but you certainly want to use a little bit just to get that nice flavor out of that Scotch bonnet pepper. The other thing is, when handling Scotch bonnet peppers, remember to use gloves, as the oils in the pepper will irritate your skins, and more importantly, wash your hands with soap and water after you're done using it. The last thing you want to do is to handle this pepper, Scotch bonnet peppers, and touch your eyes, or hey, maybe somewhere else, and you're going to be in a ton of pain. Pretty much all we're doing now is we're going to assemble everything to create that batter. So in goes the split peas flour, or ground split peas. I'm going to toss in the baking powder and give that a quick whisk. I want to incorporate that nicely in here. In goes the flour. Again, give that another whisk, just to blend everything before we start adding the liquid to here. In goes that saffron, or as you may know it, turmeric. Blend everything together. Ooh, it's getting kind of smoky in here. Already dusty. And all of that lovely pepper and garlic and salt crush that we did. Just going to add that in there as well. And finally, next up, we got to start adding water. So I'm going to start with a cup. Give that a whisk and keep working it. As you can see, it's sticking now, so I'm going to add another 3/4 cups of water in here. And all I got to do is keep working this, keep mixing it until I have a smooth batter. So that's what I'm going to continue doing until I have a nice smooth batter. Keep whisking. And it comes together pretty fast. Just going to add a couple tablespoons more water in here because it's a little bit thick. I'm just going to continue mixing this until I have a nice smooth batter. As you can see, I have a nice smooth batter now. So all we got to do is, just going to knock this out a bit. I'm going to get me a tea towel, or you can use plastic wrap, and I'm just going to cover it and set that aside for about half an hour. In the meanwhile, I'll show you guys now how to make the accompanying dipping sauce for this, which is a green mango chutney. For the green mango chutney, I've got here half a teaspoon of salt. I may end up using 3/4 teaspoon. I may need to add a little bit more, depending on how tart your green mango is, or how sour, as we say in the Caribbean. You will obviously have to adjust your salt. I've got here 2 Scotch bonnet peppers. I'm using everything on these 2 peppers here. This mango chutney is supposed to have a kick, so it's important that you do use some nice hot peppers. 2 cloves of garlic. I've got here 1 green mango. It is firm, it is hard, it has to be a green mango. It has to be, and when I say green, I don't only mean the skin, I mean the interior. Once we peel it, it will be green as well. We need that tartness, we need that sour sort of kick from that green mango. And I've got some shadow benny here. It's kind of quail now. These leaves are a bit dried, but this is what I have. It's not as if I can go out in the garden and get some. This is what there was at the grocery store. I've got 3 leaves here. So this is pretty much it for making the green mango chutney. So let's put it all together. Typically, with the green mango chutney, we're supposed to crush the garlic as well as the Scotch bonnet peppers to form a smooth paste to add to the green mango when we grate it. However, I'm going to do things a little bit different. I want the colors from this Scotch bonnet pepper to try and brighten up the dipping sauce a bit. So all I'm going to do is cut it up very, very finely. So which means cutting it into strips first. And then I'm going to use my knife to really work it into very, very small pieces. I'm going to continue doing that as well. So now that the Scotch bonnet pepper is nice and finely chopped, all I'm going to do is pick that up and set that aside for after we've had the grated mango. Here's the thing, guys, and I said this earlier, once you're handling these peppers, especially now that all the oils and everything have been released from that pepper, you really want to wash your hands with salt, with soap, salt, immediately after use. So now I have here the shadow benny. If you can't get shadow benny, you can use cilantro. You will need about 4 or 5 tablespoons of the cilantro, because cilantro is not as powerful, as pungent as the shadow benny. When you're in the West Indian or Latino or Asian supermarket, the shadow benny may be called culantro, so you may want to look for it as that as well. So, and all I'm doing is cutting this very finely as well, because I want this to flavor the mango chutney, but I still want to pick up little pieces of it as I dip in there and I eat my fried up pholourie. So it's nice and fine now. So all we got to do now is crush the garlic with the salt. So just as we did earlier when we crushed the garlic for making the batter for the pholourie, all I'm going to do, I've got the salt in here, and I'm just going to slice that garlic very thin just to help it work down into smooth paste faster with the mortar and pestle here. And again, all you're doing is to crush this. You notice I'm sort of cupping or covering the container here, the mortar, because I don't want it flying all over the place once I hit it down there. So I'm just going to continue working this until I have a smooth. Next up, the green mango, and you want to make sure you have washed it first. And then what you're doing is using a paring knife or a potato peeler. All you want to do is peel the skin off it. So you want to peel, and you notice the color of the mango. This alone, from experience, I know this is going to be a tart or sour mango, which is good. I'm not complaining. So all I'm going to do is continue peeling this, and then after I'm done peeling it, I'm going to give it a quick wash one more time. Now that the mango is completely washed and peeled and everything else, all we're going to do, you get your grater, the fine setting, and you want to grate the green mango onto a plate or a bowl or something where you can collect it. But this is what we're using as the main ingredient for this mango chutney. Now remember guys, when you're grating, near the middle of this green mango will be a pit or a seed, as you may call it. Remember to try and go close to it, but don't actually try to grate it. It is hard, it won't grate. I'm just going to go ahead and continue grating this until I've got all that nice lovely tart flesh of the mango grated properly. So there we go. This is that seed or that pit I was talking about. You can discard this now, and I'll quickly show you guys what we have left back here. Lovely grated green sour tart mango. Just a matter of assembling everything now for that mango chutney. So all we got to do now is assemble everything for this mango chutney. So I've got a nice deep bowl for some water, and I'm just going to drain that water out, and we're going to scrape the grated mango into the bowl. Set that aside. There'll be a fair amount of liquid in there as well. That is cool. I'm going to add about half of that cut up Scotch bonnet pepper. I'm going to add the shadow benny in there, and the garlic and salt that we pounded into a paste. I'm just going to scrape that out as well. Add it in here and give everything a good stir, because we really want to incorporate everything into this grated mango. See what I mean about this? When you chop the Scotch bonnet pepper rather than crushing it, you get these nice little specks of nice goodness in there. I'm just going to continue mixing this, and then I'll give it a taste, because chances are it will need a little bit more salt. You want this a little bit tart, but you also want this a little bit more balanced as well. So what I'm going to do is grab a little bit. It does require a little bit salt. Now remember, by adding salt and having salt in this, it will draw out a lot of moisture, so you will be required to mix this up a little bit more. And you can certainly put all of this in a food processor and blend it smooth if you want, but I like this being a little bit chunky. I like seeing these little specks of pepper and this shadow benny. All I'm going to do now, guys, put some cling wrap over this into the fridge. It's going to get nice and chilled, but remember to stir it. Taste for salt one more time after it comes out of the fridge before you serve the pholourie with it. So it's been half an hour, and I just want to show you guys my little setup here. I've got the a basket here with paper towels all set up to drain after we're done. You're going to need some tongs. You're going to need a tablespoon as well. We have the batter all set up and rested for about half an hour. And on the stove, on medium heat, I've got vegetable oil. That's probably anywhere from 3 to 4 cups of vegetable oil I've got heating up here. All we're going to do is to take heaping tablespoons of this batter into the hot oil and let it do its thing. My oil is nice and hot now. I had it on that medium flame, and all I did was I dropped a little bit of the batter, and immediately I start seeing it fry, so I know the oil is at the right temperature. Traditionally, This, the people who make Pholourie to sell, and the old school people, they usually pick up a bunch and they scrape it down through their fingers and plop it into the hot oil. I'm not as skilled as that, and to be honest with you, I don't want to risk getting burned. So all I'm going to be using is a tablespoon, and all I'm going to do is grab a tablespoon of the batter and then just simply place it into the hot oil like that. And that's all we need to do, is just keep plopping them. I notice it's going to swell and it's going to be nice and lovely, just like you know Pholourie to be. And do it in small batches at a time. Like, I mean, let's say if it's your first time doing it, you want to be able to control it. So I'm going to do 5 at a time. And I have a clean spoon here, one that's out of the batter. Notice how nice and plump that got. I'm just going to flip it over. And once they start floating, it means they're fully cooked inside. All you want to do now is let it get that nice color, a golden brown sort of color. Ooh, it smells lovely in here, people. And I mean to say, they're not perfectly shaped at this point because I'm not using that scrape technique to get it into the pot. As you can see, a minute and a half, and they're probably already done cooking. Just want to make sure, so you want to keep flipping them over so they cook evenly on both sides. So 1 minute on each side should be good to go. And this is where the tongs come in handy. Just going to grab them into that basket with the paper towel. I'm just going to give it about 30 seconds more just for it to brown up a little bit. Ooh, these are nice and lovely. And they are fully cooked. I'm just going to fish them out and put them into the basket with the paper towel here. Now you can certainly cook it a little bit longer if you want, because some people, they love it when they have the crispy edges on them. Nice crunch when you bite into it. And as you can see, I have them in here. I'm just going to continue cooking them, and then I'll show you guys the end product. These are nowhere as perfect as the one you would buy in the at your local restaurant or whatever. However, the taste is gonna blow you away. Trust me on this. This is a wicked Pholourie recipe. As the first batch cools down, I thought I would break open one. Notice how the nice little green specks of that Scotch bonnet pepper and everything else. This is absolutely delicious, and I haven't even dipped it in the mango chutney yet. I can't wait. Nice and light the way I like it. So the Pholourie is all done. Now you'll notice some of them is a little bit darker here. Those are the ones I allowed to go a couple minutes longer. So instead of the 2 minutes, it probably went for about 3 to 4 minutes. I flipped them over, and it's got that nice crunchy corners and everything else. I just noticed, and this is totally optional, so I have the mango chutney that we made, and I noticed that I have half of a lime, so I'm just going to squeeze some of that lime juice in here. Nothing much, just to brighten up the flavor of this. And I'm going to give it a quick stir. That lime is going to add a nice layer of depth to this. And I'm going to quickly show you guys how I like eating my Pholourie. So I've got one in the corner here that's a bit cool, so I'm just going to rip it open like this. There's that nice steam that's still coming out of there. I'm going to take a little bit of the chutney, spread it on there. Come on, Mr. Chutney, what are you really doing? Just going to make a little sandwich with it. Ooh. Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com. Stuff in my face today with a wicked Pholourie and mango chutney recipe. Guys, you gotta give this a try. Remember, when you're done, when you take it out of the fridge, taste for salt. You may need to add a little bit more salt. Always a pleasure having you guys in the kitchen here. Give this recipe a try. You will absolutely love it. It is so easy to put together. You'll stop going to the West Indian restaurant just to pick up some of these guys. Hey, you can make it yourself. It's so much better when you make it yourself. Your family will love you for it. You will love yourself for it. And I'm sure your belly is going to just be going crazy and nuts for these wicked Pholourie. Have a great day, guys.